Hi everyone, welcome to our weekly Q&A session. And today was supposed to be with Coach Richard. However, I haven't got hold of him. So I don't know, maybe he will join later on. He will jump straight into the live session. In the meantime, I will do my best to answer the questions from you. And I think we can start. I have prepared a few questions that I found on the YouTube from you guys. So the first question that you are curious about was, how can I reframe setbacks or relapses in my sleep journey so they don't feel like failures? Well, this is a very good question, and it's very normal to see the setbacks and relapses like a failure, because we feel like we have a good streak, we have we have kind of like befriended wakefulness, we got the education, but then all of a sudden we got a few sleepless nights, and from this point on we feel like, oh my goodness, I have failed. But the truth is, you didn't fail. You cannot fail at something you cannot control. So, uh, this is one of the first and most important points. You cannot fail at something you can't control. And really helpful way how to reframe these bumpy nights is to see them as opportunities. Because when we see a sleepless night as an opportunity, it's quite a different experience and quite a different, we see it really differently, because if we frame it like an opportunity, we also have to know that our fear has to be active for us to teach our brain some helpful lessons, which means if we see a nighttime wakefulness, this is my opportunity to navigate these difficult moments as in a different way, in a way that it's actually safe, in a way that it is not a threat, then we are sending the signal to our brain, hey, being awake at night is not a threat. It's okay. It's actually quite a safe experience. And in these moments, our brain is really learning. And I know it's going to sound disappointing, but our fear has to be active to really teach our brain these lessons, right? We can get the education, we can get the knowledge, we can get inspired by success stories, but we really need to be in a given moment, in a moment when we struggle, in the moment which we have perceived as a problem, that we can really change our whole perception of it. So, anytime you will find yourself in a kind of like in a speed bump, see it as an opportunity to learn helpful lessons, to help your brain learn a helpful lesson. Cool. So I hope I have answered this question. Um, right. And I have a question from Annie. So, hi, Annie. Hello, Veronika. How can you face the fear of fear? I can't handle it. I really understand this question, and it's really difficult when we are overwhelmed by fear. These fears are mm, these fears can be really, really strong. They can take over our mind, they can take over our whole body, which means that when we are really in it, we feel like we are completely lost. But when we start to understand it, when we start to see what kind of tricks our brain is playing on us, then we can start to keep the distance from these struggles. And we need to understand that the first fear that we kind of like a first level of fear that we get is automatic. It is our amygdala that plays a role in insomnia. And when our amygdala has stored a fear of not sleeping, then it automatically gives us this emotion of fear. But when we get scared of this emotion, when we get scared, like, oh my goodness, I'm feeling fear. I feel the palpitations. I feel heavy breathing. I have sweaty palms. What does it really mean to me? Very often, we can see the stories that our brain is really telling us. If you have the fear, it is an obstacle to your sleep, and if you can't sleep, then you start to catastrophize. I'm not going to function tomorrow. What health consequences I'm going to have is going to mean to me? What I'm going to fail like a partner. I'm going to fail at work, and so on and so on. And when we start to create all these stories, of course, this is not aligned with a peaceful sleep, right? So it's very normal to uh, or it's very helpful to understand that the fear, the first emotion that we get, it's an automatic, and we have no control over it, and we have to learn to accept it. The fear itself doesn't have to be an obstacle to your sleep. It is just something that your brain is trying to tell you, hey, there is something we need to avoid. This is something that we need to stay away from. But because you already have the education that being awake at night is not a threat, it is just a perceived threat. It is something that your brain kind of like accidentally has picked up as a threat. In these cases, you know, you are just trying to, you need to help your brain to understand you don't have to be afraid of this fear. And every emotion has its beginning, its peak, and its end. So when you understand this, when you don't feed the fear cycle, when you don't get scared of your palpitations, when you don't get scared of your fearful thoughts, when you understand all of this, then only the automatic layer of fear stays. And every emotion, it's like a train that has departing from a station. We more or less have to wait until it arrives into the next station. We cannot stop it in its tracks. We cannot avoid it. We just have to wait until it arrives into the next station. So don't be afraid of your emotions. And actually, one of the most helpful lessons, or one of the helpful ideas that I have learned while being a mother, was don't be afraid of the emotions of your children. If you say no and you get a really strong emotional reaction from your child, you don't have to be afraid of it. You just need to stay consistent. Your no is a no, and your child will deal with it. It has its own way how to express its emotion. And the same way it is our brain. If our brain, sometimes our brains can be very stubborn. It can give us these fears, these strong emotions, the symptoms. But if you stay persistent, yeah, it's not comfortable, but I'm safe. I can handle it. Then your brain will understand, your child will understand. And this is something that will show your brain and your child the safety. You are the one I can comfort in because you are the one I can rely on. I hope this was helpful, Annie, and stay strong and don't be afraid of your fear. Okay, cool. Um, right. I have a question from Jackson John. Hi, Jackson. Nice to meet you. Hi, I'm struggling with physical appearance. I also weightlift and my muscles don't grow as much on a bad night of sleep. My skin also looks horrible after a bad night. How can I be okay with this? Um, this is a very good question, Jackson, and very common. The physical insomnia, physical appearance insomnia, is very common, and it's very often about how we relate to it. In just, I'll take a detour here, and one of my struggles was that in one moment of my insomnia recovery, I was having an all-nighter after an all-nighter, and it was really exhausting. It was really scary, and I didn't know where to turn to help it, because everywhere I just got like very vague answers. And I confided in my friend, and I was telling her how desperate I was, how hopeless I was, and she told me, "But hey, you don't look like you don't sleep. You look normal." And in that moment, I felt so desperate. I wish I would look worse so she would believe me. I wanted her to believe my struggles, right? So it's more about how we perceive these physical appearance, how we perceive these struggles. And of course, I do understand what are you saying. The physical appearance, when we have the dark circles under our eyes, it's not nice for us. But know that you are the one who looks the closest to yourself in the mirror, right? Nobody else is scrutinize you just like you are. So this is the first thing, right? Um, the second thing, know that this is only temporary. This is just a challenging period in your life, Jackson, and this will pass. And in the meantime, take a good care of yourself. Like you say, you weight lift, and which means that you are a sports person. Just keep doing it. Daniel has one video about growing muscles. You can find it in, I think, the one of the Heard Online episodes. And actually, uh, it's not quite true that the muscles don't grow. You are exercising them in the same exact way, like when you had the restorative and nice sleep. But the consistency, as always, is really, really helpful, right? Just keep doing what are you doing, live your life up to your values, and the insomnia will subside. Don't dwell on the idea that my muscles don't grow when I don't sleep. This is something that we call secondary attachments. The first primary attachment is, of course, we want to sleep. But the secondary attachment is that we don't look so well, our muscles don't grow, we don't perform to what we would like to perform, right? But when we understand the secondary attachments and that sleep not always have such a huge impact like we believe it does, then we start to kind of like uncouple the how big impact it does have, right? So if you would do a little detective work, for example, that, I don't know, some other time I went to the gym and I had a really great exercise. I felt great and I felt even my muscles grow. You need just this one outlier, just with this one proof to kind of like break this strong connection. After a bad sleep, I don't sleep so well. So look for these little proofs, and and you will overcome your insomnia sooner or later on. I hope I have answered your question, Jackson, and I have quite a few questions coming in. And I have a question from Carrie. What is the most helpful way to face fear in all areas of my life? This is a really great question, Carrie, because insomnia recovery is not only about improving our sleep. It influences other areas of our sleep because we learn about ourselves and we learn about our emotions, our thoughts, and so on and so on. So, if we improve in one area, for example, how we relate to sleep, we also improve in other areas how we face fear. For example, fear of flying, fear of performance, and so on. I have started to talk about it to Annie. It's about how we relate to fear. It's about understanding that fear is just an emotion, and We don't have to be afraid of our emotions. What is actually a fear? When we start to feel this emotion, very often it feels really overwhelming. It feels like, oh my goodness, we feel literally paralyzed by this emotion. I can't do anything because I'm afraid. But when we start to cut it down to pieces, what does my fear consist of? It is a set of thoughts, it is a set of symptoms, like, for example, palpitations, heavy breathing, cramp in the stomach, like sweaty palms. Some have like lump in the throat. Some people have like really this tightness in their like in this part in this here in the neck. So when we start to cut it down to pieces, when we start to be curious about the fear, when we start to approach it like, what does the fear feel in my body? Then it the the overwhelm, the paralysis that we have initially felt from this emotion starts to subside. Okay, so fear is probably the set of catastrophic thoughts, and thoughts are just products of my fearful brain. Okay, I don't have to engage with them. Then it is just a set of my palpitations, my heaviness in my breathing, my sweaty palms. I don't like it, but to accept an emotion, you don't have to like it. Just see it as a temporary discomfort and understanding that um, you still can do things even when you are afraid of them. For example, somebody has a dream to fly to Caribbean and to enjoy a lovely holiday there, but is terribly afraid of flying. So uh, this person has two options. Option A is to be scared for the rest of his or her life and then never fly there. Or B, this person can accept this fear that this is just an emotion and it doesn't have to be an obstacle to do things. Alongside this fear, when we acknowledge it, when we allow it to be with us, we don't have to suppress it, we don't have to avoid the fear. We still can do the things that we like and that we prefer. So, uh, get to know your fear, Carrie, acknowledge it, allow it to stay, to be with you, and know that with this fear, you still can fly to Caribbean, you still can approach the nighttime, you still can do the things you are afraid to do. I hope this was helpful, Carrie. And right. Um, right. I have a question from Official SK. So, hi. I take CBD oil and ashwagandha. That doesn't make me sleep. Does it? It's all by myself. And someone called Matthew Walker, well known as a person very known in the sleep world, said insomnia is a disease, neurological disease. Okay. Thank you for the question. And if I understand it right, yes, it's of course, when we take CBD oil, when we take ashwagandha, when we do rituals, when we take magnesium, very often we delegate the responsibility for our sleep on these things, right? And even when we take meds, it's very often the delegation. Okay, I took these, and that, and I don't have to do anything now. It will take care of itself. And this lack of trying is actually helping us to fall asleep. So, and no, it doesn't matter how many rituals you do, how many supplements you take, or how many pills you take. All sleep that you have ever had in your life was produced by your body. There is nothing external that can produce the sleep for you, right? So, actually, insomnia recovery is a journey of giving back trust to our bodies that it can take care of sleep itself, right? And Of course, if you feel like CBD oil and ashwagandha is helping you, and enjoy it. You don't have to just get rid of any sleep efforts. You don't have to get rid of any supplements. Even I still take magnesium just because I know it's helpful for my well-being, right? And when you take these things as something that will help your well-being, your general well-being, but you know you cannot control sleep with taking all these things, then you are fine. And yes, someone called Matthew Walker. Yes, he wrote a book, Why We Sleep, and in his book he takes a lot of pressure that we have to sleep, that we must sleep, but he um, doesn't present the idea that sleep is not controllable. We cannot control when we fall asleep. We cannot control how long we sleep. We cannot control when we wake up or whether we don't wake up or not in the middle of the night. But and this is quite challenging when we don't understand this, and when we believe that it is a neurological disease. I don't even like to uh, say about insomnia that it is a disease, because a disease has a cure, but insomnia doesn't have a cure as such. It is about accepting, allowing, and letting go, facing and understanding. The education is the most important. We, with insomnia, we are fighting an perceived enemy. We are trying to, we have created in our mind a monster, but this monster is not real. The monster lives only in our beliefs, in our habits, and in our thoughts. Once we get rid of all these beliefs, unhealthy beliefs, habits, and all these monsters, then eventually insomnia will subside and it will leave us. So uh, try to maybe stay on the channel for a bit longer, Official SK, lean into the education, and get inspired by success stories. Like how many people they thought, like, oh my goodness, there must be something terribly wrong with me if I can't sleep for such a long time, right? There are people who get suggested even by doctors, have a medical check, have a brain scan for a tumor, and many people do have brain scans and nothing. Just they find nothing there. They are physically perfectly healthy. So uh, once you start to work on the acceptance elements, on your thoughts, fears, I believe there is no way that the relationship with your sleep will improve, and thanks to that, the sleep itself will improve as well. So I hope I have answered your question. And another question, let me see. I have a question from Philip Terranova. Hi, Philip. Hello, Veronika. My question is, how does someone try to recover, to accept without making a sleep effort? Is it just a point we reach without trying? Is it just a goal set in the distance? It's a good question. And, you know, um, it's very hard to get rid of the sleep efforts, because sometimes we get really when you have some sleep effort, like for example, I'm going to read a book before sleep in order to fall asleep. And if we believe that this will is going to help us fall asleep, then we are constantly monitoring. We are checking, is the sleep effort working? Is it not working? And when we don't fall asleep, we feel like this sleep effort has failed us. But when we start to see reading a book as a really nice way how to wind down, a really nice way how to befriend wakefulness, and we do not expect from reading a book that it will make us to fall asleep, then we have basically debunked the sleep effort. When we understand that the sleep reports are about the intention and we don't have to get rid all of them. I remember a client, she literally had a list of 15 things on her evening to-do list. And when she didn't do one of it, she was like sentenced to not sleeping that night. So, and this is the belief that this set of rules will make me sleep. But when we understand there is nothing that can control our sleep, only our body can produce it. And it's helpful to understand that that sometimes we still have this hope. Okay, maybe when reading a book, it might help me to promote a good sleep, right? But if it doesn't, I'm still safe. I'm okay. So uh, it's really hard to not try. It's really hard to not to go completely without any sleep effort. And just know that really the sleep efforts can be, you will drop them one by one, only as you will feel comfortable to do this. Daniel often talks about courage and self kindness. When we take the courage to let go of one sleep effort, uh, and it doesn't play out in a night where we sleep perfectly, then we need this self kindness. We need to be kind to ourselves. Okay, it didn't help me sleep, but I took the courage because I didn't like it. For example, for a very long period of time, I drank valerian root tea and I hated it, right? But I really was believing that please, this valerian root tea helped me to fall asleep. But so many times, of course, it didn't help me, right? So this sleep effort was for me easy to drop. I was literally relieved that I don't have to drink this tea that I hate so much, right? So really understanding what are the sleep efforts, taking the courage to let go of them, and also be kind to ourselves when we have something that it's not easy for us to let go of, like for example sleeping on a couch, it is very common, then it's absolutely fine. The right time will come when you're ready. Okay, so I hope I have answered your question, Philip. And hmm, I have a question from Lisa Fisk, a very good question, and which says, my question is how do I deal with the fear of getting sick and not sleeping to recover? I also had this fear, and I was many times sick, and I was afraid I will not recover. But you know what? I always have recovered. It is mostly our fear that is keeping us stuck, and regardless of sleep, our body knows what to do. Our body knows how to fight the viruses, how to fight the bacteria, and you will recover, right? It might be not the way you would imagine. Sometimes I remember the times where I was really longing for, please, I need to sleep. I felt horrible. I felt weak. I felt exhausted. I had terrible cough and I was not sleeping. It was really awful time. But I was literally punishing myself for not only being sick, but also for not sleeping. And this wasn't helpful at all. So, Lisa, be kind to yourself. You know, you can't control your sleep, you can't control your recovery. But sleep is not the only thing that helps your recovery. Uh, Eat healthy foods, get the medicine you need to take, prescribed from doctor, and if possible, do the right exercises and take care also of your mental health because this is where you have control. You don't have control whether you fall asleep or not, but you do have control what do you eat and how do you treat yourself. Okay, so I hope this was helpful. And wow, so many questions. Okay. Mm, hmm. I have a question from Nia. Hi. My sleep finally got a bit better after a lot of struggle, but I'm now returning to full-time work, 9 to 5, 5 times a week. Congratulations. And now, me trying to get into a sleep schedule and the pressure to sleep is triggering my insomnia again. I know I'm more energized and able to do my best work on 7 hours, but the pressure makes it very difficult for me to fall asleep, and I'm scared I'll get fired. If I can't sleep and go on the job with a little sleep, then I'm scared if this happens, I'll be stuck in insomnia and anxiety forever. How can I convince my brain that insomnia isn't a threat when it affects my focus, energy, and attention? Very good question and very common question. When we are overcoming insomnia, getting back to work or traveling or I don't know, going back to sleeping with our partner in one bedroom are something that we call last hurdles. I suppose that because you have started in your new work, you probably have reached to a point where you are when you've got better, where you can sleep on in your bed, when you have got the education, where you in generally are feeling better and more confident by your sleep, insomnia. But then comes this hurdle: new work, new circumstance, new fears, new worries, and this is naturally a challenge. You have taught your brain that it's safe to sleep in your own bed once again. And now, what you are doing, you are growing your comfort zone, which means that you are going to work, you are exposing yourself to new fears. And again, your brain is sending you another uh, kind of like a warning thoughts. What if you fail at work? You'll get fired. You know, this is survival thought, right? Because if you can work, you will not provide yourself. You can provide yourself. You will not survive. You have to understand that it is just a thought, and although it does seem likely, it doesn't have to be truth at all. They have chosen you for this job for a reason, because you are fit for the job, and the only thing that is standing in the way is your fear. So work on your fear of not sleeping. Work on your fear, and it's wonderful that you have showed. Where is it? That it's wonderful that. Yeah, I like this. I know I'm more energized and I'm able to do my best work on 7 hours, but pressure makes it very difficult for me to fall asleep. So, of course, it's very scary place to be when you are not sleeping, and when you don't sleep, you are afraid you will not perform at work. And actually, we have someone in our insomnia immunity program who also, after long break, got again to work, and of course experienced a speed bump. But you know what? She acknowledged her thoughts. She acknowledged her fears. She showed herself that even on barely any sleep, she performed her best at work. And you know, you can do this also. And of course, sometimes our brain are giving us the worst case scenarios. But you know what? Sometimes going to the worst case scenario is helpful, even if it is in your mind. When your mind is telling you you'll get fired, then maybe fighting this thought is going to be difficult because it's very intrusive or persistent. So, you know what you can do? Okay, if I get thought, if I get fired, maybe one door will close, but there are others available for me. And probably it happened for a reason in my life, right? I also turned down a job that I was doing previously before my maternity leave, before being a sleep coach. But I I am grateful for it. I'm grateful for this opportunity to be a sleep coach and helping people to overcome their sleep struggles. So I hope this was helpful, Aniha. Mm, and let's answer one last question. Da da da. Mm, mm, da, 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 da. Oh, hello.
Hi,
Hi,
Veronika.
Daniel. Hi, Daniel. Welcome. You're
Thank you.
live, you know
Thank
that,
you.
right?
I was just checking in. Great live. We have a success story that I'm going to record.
Ah,
So
okay.
I need StreamYard soon. So I'm just going to pop in and tell Veronica.
Okay, I just wanted to answer one last question. I hope this is okay for you. I'm sorry if I interrupted.
No, not at
And
all. We're starting in 6 minutes. Until then, all good.
okay, perfect.
Bye bye.
So, bye bye. So, let me quickly just answer this last question. And from Tiffany Lynn, how is the monitoring or waiting for sleep as I'm trying to sleep? So, know that this monitoring is not intentional. Know that, you know, when you monitor for sleep is one of the tools that your brain is using. Your brain is literally using for you to control sleep. But in this state, when you are at, it's literally the similar like any other symptom. It's like palpitations. It's like feeling panic. It's like feeling scared. It's like anything. You need to be kind to yourself. And next time you feel like your brain is monitoring, then you just acknowledge it, gently acknowledge it, and know this comes from a place of safety. Your brain is trying to keep you safe, right? So instead of saying like, "Oh no, I don't want my brain to monitor," say, "Thank you, brain, for trying to keep me safe." And I hope that this little sentence, or actually like Coach Richard would put it, instead of "Oh no," you say "Oh well," and all these can change all your experience, right? So basically the perception. Okay, so I have to finish now. Thank you very much, everybody, for all your wonderful questions. I will be back next week with the Q&A, and everybody take care. Have a good rest of the day or evening or whenever you are in the world. And bye bye. Take care.